mentioned wireless, and I noticed that you've been involved in Wi-Fi because I remember back in the late 80s and early 90s, before the advent of 3G, which I think was the start of being able to use mobile networks for data. Is that correct? I think 3G was the start of data-driven mobile networks. But Wi-Fi, disconnecting people from their desks, it was really important. So how are you involved with Wi-Fi? Because I believe actually Wi-Fi that was created was actually created by an Australian inventor a long time ago, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so Wi-Fi was really interesting. I was in the Wi-Fi security space.
Right.
So what you start to see happen is that, companies you'd have these rogue wireless networks, right? You had Linksys you had
Yes.
Linksys,
Yep. Yep.
3Com,
Yep.
and Aerotek. So Cisco bought a company called Aerotek, and that's what really propelled Wi-Fi. You also wasn't called Wi-Fi then; it was called 802.11, which was really
Yep.
the standard, the IEEE standard of 802.11, 802.11a, 802.11b, 802.11c, 802.11n. All these 802.11s. Wi-Fi was the moniker, code name for it. And you start to see companies say, "Hey, look, we're going to have Wi-Fi." Laptops started to include a
Yep.
Wi-Fi in their computer, or you had a Wi-Fi card. I probably have one on my desk somewhere, a Wi-Fi card. So you start to see these things sort of evolve. And then security came out of them, because how can you allow this, and 802.11g and roaming and all those other things that we all take for granted now that just sort of happen on their own.
Yep.
I remember I have a tri-band phone that actually is, wide area, wide area network, local.
A WAN.
Yeah, so these are all things that were happening. And
Yeah.
remember, in the 90s, you actually saw handoffs in cell carriers also. You think about you had your cellular service, and if you went from a different zone, you had roaming, right? You actually had roaming between network. Like there's a whole, and it's pretty incredible how it's all sort of evolved over the last bunch of years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was involved in a company called Reef Edge, REEFEDGE. I got a tombstone around there someplace. Venture-backed company, just the smartest people, involved. It was just pretty fascinating stuff. Long time ago.